parent-teacher night was very telling. If there's any teachers in the room here, you know what I'm talking about. And you know, when you met the teachers, it all made sense why these kids were so fucked up. But you had to be professional. So I'm sitting there with a parent, and I'm talking about her kid, and then eventually she says, something that I didn't expect. I said, what do you mean your son doesn't take art? She said, I thought this was the social studies room. Do I look like a social studies teacher to you? Are there world maps hanging up over here? Or pictures of famous people, like the explorers and, oh, let's see, presidents? No. There are pictures of famous painters like Van Gogh, Chagall, Renoir, Matisse. There's ripped up paper all over the floor, paint all over the tables, and on me. Get out of my room! Yeah, that's blood. You want to know where that came from? But you know, these kids, they can really push your buttons. They know how to do that. I mean, they can curse at you, they can throw things at you, they can even threaten your lives. And there are things that you want to say that you can't because that's not the teacher way. Things like, what up, biatch? Man, you whack, chill out! Chicken head! Schmuck! But you can't say things like that. You have to say things like, now if this behavior does not improve, I may have to do something, I don't know what, and I don't know when. Maybe next week, possibly next month, or even when you graduate, I may have to call your parents. Try to get in touch with some of these parents, right? That's half our job. This kid gave me 2 phone numbers. One was the local pizza place. Another was a sex line. The mother owned the sex line. Now I finally got her on the phone and she asked me, you know, Mr. Dourmashkin, why is my son failing art? He loves art. And I said, I would really love to help you, but not at $5.99 a minute. My father was in and out of hospitals for a really long time. He had a heart attack when he was like 45. And I remember I was in the playground hanging with my friends. One of my friends came up to me and said, there's something wrong with your dad. There's an ambulance in front of the school. So I just ran. I don't know why. I didn't know what I was running for. I swung open the door, and there was my dad sitting on the couch with oxygen on his face and paramedics around him. He looked right at me, as if to say, I'll be okay, sport. He used to call me sport, kiddo, sporty fella. I was so scared. I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, I've seen him in movies and television, but not on my dad. So his health just got worse. Just went downhill from there. He had like 2 strokes in separate periods of time. And then at one point, he had an aneurysm in his stomach and he had to have an operation. Now, he was not in good physical condition at all for this. The doctor said, We have to operate. If we don't operate, he'll die. And if we do operate, he had a 10% chance of survival. 10%. I remember the first time I saw him in the hospital. He was asleep. All the things I wanted him to teach, and he couldn't. That's when I began to forgive him. Because he was just a man. A man with his own issues, his own feelings, his own anger, his own disappointments. But he didn't have anyone to talk to about it. During his time, going to a therapist meant that you were crazy. So he got sicker and sicker, and he had this aneurysm. We all went to the hospital. We thought this was it. The doctor came out, and he was in shock. He made it through. My father had this will to live that was, well, annoying. He just wouldn't go. My sister and I were out of the house already, and my father was always worried about my mom. But in his condition, what good was he to her? My mom was always taking care of him. He just kept getting worse and worse. I remember the last time I saw my dad. It was in one of those long care facilities. He had a feeding tube in his throat, catheter. He couldn't even wipe his own ass. He couldn't do anything himself. My mom kept making plans on when Dad was going to come home. And we all knew this was it. It was just a matter of time. And you think that you're ready, you're prepared for something like this. But you never are. I used to go to the hospital and I used to comb his hair, help shave him. There was one time, I was there a really long time, and he fell asleep, and I got real close, moved the chair close to him, and I fell asleep on top of him. It's the safest I ever felt in a long time. He woke up and he patted me on the head and he said, "What? Did you get enough sleep last night?" Always with the jokes. He joked with us. He joked with the orderlies, the nurses. Oh, the nurses. He told me, "Don't tell your mom." And I didn't have the heart to tell him that Mom already knew and he really can't do anything anyway. That wouldn't have been pretty. He always joked. He always found it funny and something.